This is a quick lesson on how to do keyframes in Adobe Premiere CS6. This is my project set up right here. I have some stock footage right here, and we're going to do a couple things with keyframes. So first of all, I'm going to manipulate the existing effects controls that you just get without a transition from a clip. So as you can see, I have my clip selected here, and what I want to do is I'm going to add a fade up from black. So I want it about 2 seconds long. So I'm going to fast forward here to about 2 seconds where I want to mark my endpoint. Okay, so I have 2 seconds selected right here, and I'm going to come up here to my effects controls, and this shows me all my effects that already exist for a clip, and as well as the video transitions and effects that I put on here. But for right now, we're going to start with the opacity. This little stopwatch right here is where it says toggle animation. That's going to select, it's going to say I want to use keyframes. So I select that. It was already selected. All right. Anyway, so that's what I want to select, and when I select it, it automatically puts a keyframe in. So this timeline up here is synonymous with this keyframe, or excuse me, with this timeline down here as well. So if you can see, I can move this, and it moves up here as well, and vice versa. Now, to select my keyframes, I can drag this onto here, or I can use these arrows right here. See, this one is selected. I only have one. So if you can see, if I go to the other side, it'll switch. So if I want to go to exact keyframe and edit that one, I click that. This button right here in the middle adds and removes keyframes. And there goes R2-D2. So I can delete it, and I can add it back. Now, I want to adjust, I want to put a keyframe right here at 2 seconds, and I want to basically dip to black, fade up from black. So I'll go all the way to the beginning of the clip and add another keyframe. Click this. So right now, it's just normal. If we scrub through it, it is all normal. No effects have been applied yet. So I want to bring the opacity here all the way down to 0. And you can see this one, this keyframe is at 0 opacity. If I go to this one, it's at 100%. So if we go through it, it'll fade up from black with opacity. Now keyframes, are very versatile. You can add them to any video transition, any video effect that you basically want. So your imagination could, anything that you can manipulate, whether it be a lighting effect, a blur, anything you can affect. So say I want, I'm also going to, with the motion here, I want to basically, I want to add a zoom. So I'm going to start my zoom about right here, and I want it to be a sort of a slow zoom, or more, yeah, I guess a zoom. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to scale, and I'm going to select to turn on keyframes. So I'll do about a 3 second zoom here. So I'll add that other keyframe here as well. Now I want to zoom in a little bit. So what I'm going to do, you have to have an in point and an out point for your keyframes. If you just do one keyframe, it'll affect the whole entire clip. So we want the scale to start at 100, which it's already at, normal. And we'll go to the next keyframe, and then we'll just size it up just a little bit. That's good. So we're going to go up 7%. So when we play this, it's going to zoom in very slowly. And it will stop. I don't know if you saw that. We can change the speed of it, but it's also going to change the length. So if I can select this and I can move it farther, and it'll have the same effect, but it'll go slower. It's still moving at the same distance, but it's just going slower. I can also select both of these and move them throughout my clip, so I can move that whole keyframe. I can also select them both and copy them, and I can put them on a different clip, so I can have the same movement. So I want to select that exactly, and I'm going to just increase it just a little bit more. So we're going to have a fade up and our little slow zoom. Now you can also add keyframes to titles. So we're going to put our title in, first title. Just drop that in right here. And we have Bucky Blackboard. Oh, excuse me, that's the wrong one. Here we go. Bernie the Blackbird. I guess they're both blackbirds. That one's blue. Oh well. It should say bluebird. Mine too. Is, let's see, let's have it blur into existence, I guess you could say. So we're going to go to Video Effects, Blur, and just a Gaussian blur. Drag that on top, and when you can see it, when I drop it on here, it comes up to your video effects. So basically, I want to add my keyframes first. So we'll come here and we'll add from the first frame, and then we'll do another 2 seconds. There. We'll add one there. So I want it to be sharp when it comes in, but I want it to blur in. So I want to go to the first keyframe, and I'll increase my blurriness till I can't see it. It's gone. So when I scrub through it, it's going to blur in. It's going to kind of snap in there. So let's go ahead and play it. That blurs in. So that's an example of how you can use a blur to kind of use as a transition. I want it to go as, so just about until I can't see it anymore. Perfect. Now let's see. I'll have it slide up. So we're going to add our motion. So basically, if you want it to move around the screen, you want it to, you can use motion right here in your video effects. You can do your position. You can change the height and the width, or excuse me, the position of it, height and width wise. You can do the scale, the rotation. So let's have it rotate out. Actually, let's use that one. So we're going to select our spot where we want it to start, add a keyframe, and we'll go to the last frame, and then we'll add another keyframe. So we're going to add our rotation starting here. So have it go like that. I'll have it spin a couple of times. So see how it's going to spin, and I want to kind of do a drain effect. So we're going to go to our keyframe. We're going to go to our we're going to mark it. So I want it to start at the same time. So I'll select the first keyframe I have here, and then we'll go to scale. Add a keyframe there. So see it adds it on the same frame. Add it there, and then I'm going to And then I'm going to go to the last frame. I can click. So if I make this smaller, larger, no, that's what I wanted. You can't see it, but it's at the very end of the frame. So I'm going to add my keyframe, and I want it to, basically I want it to just disappear. So I'm going to go smaller, 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 smaller until it hits 0. Oops, I'm sorry, disregard that. So I want it to start at 100, but I want it to end at 0. So I'm going to select the last keyframe, then 0. So when we script through it, you can see it's going to get smaller and smaller as it spins. So that's kind of an example of being able to put two of them together to make your own transition. And basically, you could do the same thing with any other effect or title that you want. So let's do one with a video effect. I want to, let's see a good one here. I want to blur it out. We'll do the same thing, but we'll do it backwards. So I'm going to come down to blur. I'm going to add my Gaussian blur again, and I'm going to add it to my clip. So I'm going to do about a 2-second transition. Come up to Gaussian blur. Now I want to add my keyframe there, and then I want to add it at the very end of my clip. Add another one here. So this one turns it on, does a stopwatch, and this one, this adds and removes. So I'm already selected on my last one, and I'm going to increase it to, say, we'll just indefinitely, 279. This should be pretty good. So, and let's make this a little bit slower. So I'm going to adjust my in point here, and then if we play through it, it's going to blur out. And then we'll have our little zoom, which we did with using the motion scale. See how you can see it's moving there. Our blur in and our spin out with our title. Now you can add any of these effects. You can adjust as long as they have the stopwatch here. You can adjust and keyframe out.